Okay, here we're going to take a look at blood clots, but not the good kind of blood clotting that's supposed to happen when you cut yourself, but bad news blood clots. There's a link in the upper right corner here to another video which is about the specifics of blood clotting when it's supposed to happen well. The problem is when it happens when we don't want it to happen, we can also end up causing some problems for ourselves. You need to know what coronary arteries are, so you should be recognizing this diagram. You should be able to label an internal diagram, but basically this is a diagram of the heart. If you're doing some kind of heart dissection, you should be able to recognize these arteries on the outside as coronary arteries that supply the heart with the blood that contains nutrients and oxygen. So it's these arteries that are actually keeping the heart muscle alive, not the chambers inside. They're pumping to move that blood around the body and to the lungs, but the oxygen that is actually being fed to the heart is coming from these coronary arteries that are actually branching off of the aorta. So you need to know what that is. Obviously, you know that people can have clots that happen in here, or buildup of kind of plaque that builds up in here and can restrict blood flow. In the worst case condition, when you get something like this and you actually have a plaque here, what can happen is it can get ruptured. And when it gets ruptured, it can actually increase the chance that blood clots will form. If blood clots form in here, that actually can stop blood flow altogether. And if you get blood flow stopped to the coronary arteries that are feeding the actual heart, then bad stuff can happen. Obviously, blood flow stops. We don't get any oxygen. You can get something called fibrillation happening, which means uncoordinated beating. So the actual pumping of the ventricles and the atria are not being carried out the way they're supposed to be, but alternate pumping, and that's called fibrillation. And it can sometimes go back to normal if this thing gets like pushed out of the way. I don't know why this guy is here. If this gets pushed out of the way, or if it doesn't get pushed out of the way, then you can end up having a heart attack. And we've all heard of heart attacks before, and unfortunately, heart attacks can be fatal. So this is an application of understanding how blood clots work, when they're supposed to work, and when they can actually cause some kind of problem and actually end up blocking our veins and arteries. Another one you might have heard of is DVT, or deep vein thrombosis. It's the kind that happens when you're stationary for a long time, and that's why I can't remember how long ago, 7 or 8 years ago, everyone was talking about making sure you stand up and do some exercise when you're on a plane, especially if you're on a plane sitting for more than 6 or 7 hours, to get up and move around to make sure that there's blood flowing around to prevent the chance of clots forming in some of the veins, in the legs in particular, which could actually travel to the brain and cause a stroke or something like that. Anyways, blood clots can be good, but also can be bad. Practice saying coronary artery 5 times fast. Coronary thrombosis is the bad case situation when we actually have blood clots being formed, therefore blocking blood flow as a result of ruptured plaque deposits. Awesome. Such a cute little guy.